Lesson 7 involves learning how to use Ajax and Json, and we're also going to be learning how to create and read XML files. So you will read the chapter in the book and then come through the lecture demo, which gives you quite a bit more detailed information on Ajax, XML, and JSON. And I should point out that there are videos on every single section in the lecture demo. And you're probably going to want to watch the videos because the majority of you are not going to be super familiar with the topics that we're covering today. So we kind of start out by giving an overview of Ajax, kind of the process and some of the methods that you can use. And Ajax can be used to retrieve HTML, XML, or JSON. So kind of to start, we go through some different examples. And the first example, we're basically updating some HTML. And you can look at the text here, or you can see it outside of this document. And this one is using JavaScript code. And then we kind of go through a similar example using jQuery instead of JavaScript. So it's the same basic example with jQuery. And then we get into XML. So kind of an overview of, what XML is, how you properly structure a document, how you can read a document into your code that is XML, how to break that thing apart. Also, how to create your own XML documents. All of that is covered. So this is Ajax and XML. And again, we cover the JavaScript side and the jQuery side, so you can kind of learn both. And then we do the same thing for JSON. Okay, so you will learn kind of about JSON files and how to create those, how to read in the JSON file, okay, and how to display the content. Okay, so you'll work through all of this and make sure you do watch the videos because it will go through the code and explain what everything is doing. And then you will get some practice creating your own files and using Ajax to, read in the file and update your page and show the contents. So you'll start by creating an XML file. And I've given you an example, but you guys are going to, use your own data. So here I did recording artist information. You can pretty much do it on anything you are interested in. And then you're going to create an Ajax file that reads the XML file. And so I have an example that reads in that record information. So if I click the button, it's displaying all that record information. You right click and you can see the CSS that I used. And more importantly, you can see the JavaScript that I used. And I am going to point out tag name is case sensitive. So get elements by tag name. I capitalized artist because in my file, artist is capitalized. So this is case sensitive. If I pull up this file, let's see, what did I, CD underscore catalog. You will notice that my tags are all capitalized, okay? that is why in my code, I have them capitalized. They are case sensitive. So if you type your tags in lowercase, that is what you need to use here. Make sure you remember that, or you are going to have a heck of a time getting this to work. And after you do the XML and the Ajax file that reads and displays the XML file, you're going to create a JSON file. So here is my example. You guys can do it on whatever you want. And you're going to create an Ajax file that reads and displays the JSON. In the lecture demo, there are quite a few different examples that you can look at. So I encourage you to go back and take a look. And then finally, you're going to create a page with buttons that loads other pages. So I have a couple examples. One loads JSON pages and the other one loads web pages. Now you need 3 buttons, and the examples, this one has 3, but this one has 2. So just keep in mind that you need a total of 3. And all this one is doing is it's just loading HTML, which is fine because your task is to have 3 buttons that load content. So they can be HTML, XML, or JSON. So this has 3 buttons that are loading JSON files. Okay, so your choice, what kind of files that you want to load. And once you're done with that, you're going to transfer everything to the web. And another thing to kind of keep in mind is that Ajax does not work offline. So if you're testing an Ajax file, you are going to need to test that live. Once you finish that, you're going to go ahead and do the Unit 2 quiz. And once you finish that, you can continue working on the term project. It is not due for another week. And this first milestone, as a little reminder, the first milestone is the interface. So that is going to be the web interface where you have tabs or links to some kind of a menu that takes you to each of the games. You should have a game page in place. Obviously, your games don't need to be created yet. You should just maybe have your README file available so that it describes what the different games do. And that's pretty much it for your interface. The requirements are HTML5 and CSS. If you would like to incorporate some JavaScript into it, that is fine. You certainly can. But that is not a requirement. The requirement is HTML and CSS. So that is pretty much lesson 7. You do need to have a pretty good handle on processing XML and JSON files because next week we will be retrieving data from APIs. And APIs will send you data as an XML or a JSON file. And you will need to be able to process that data in order to display it. So if you run into any problems or have questions, let me know and have a great week.